Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio here on Westfield Community Programming, Channel 15, 89.5 FM WSKB, and to our new audiences at Southwood Community Programming and Agawam Media. I'm Mark Auerbach, your host. With me today, Michael Sakamoto from the University of Massachusetts Fine Arts Center, and we're here to chat about warmer weather to come, and Sally Curcio is just about to join us, and we're going to chat about warmer weather to come and all the good things happening later this winter and spring at the Fine Arts Center at UMass Amherst. And on this day that we're taping, when I'm looking at the temperature outside and it's 8 degrees, I can't believe, A, that we are surviving this cold, and B, that we're going to, in a couple of weeks, or maybe 8 weeks or so, we'll be back to daylight savings time, and soon school will be out for the year. So it's nice to see both of you, and welcome. And for Sally, you've never been on the program before, so you work in the galleries at UMass at the Fine Arts Center, and we talk about the performing arts programs quite a bit on this program, but not enough about the gallery. So give us a quick overview of the gallery programs that are available at UMass in Amherst and what are open to the public and what some of the upcoming exhibitions and programs are.
Yes, I'm interim director at Hamden Gallery. So we are in the southwest area of campus. And outside right now, we have Peter Dellert's work. He has these large, amazing sculptures of kitchen tools, kind of inspired by pop art. And that you can go see anytime. That will be up till, I guess, the middle of May. And then we are going to be in Bartlett while the roof is being repaired to the building. So starting February 1st, we have 4 shows happening, 2 in the gallery and 2 online. So we have Alan Fortescue in Bartlett Hall, room 310. So we have our temporary pop-up space there. And his work is called Shadows in the Cave, Works in Progress. And we have Margie Roderich, and she's in a little smaller space in Bartlett. And she has a series of drawings, and she'll be up till the middle of May as well. And then online, we have Nanny Vonnegut and Eric Reinman with their shows, which are both paintings. Actually, we have 3 shows that are paintings and 1 that's drawing. So they're just amazing work. I'm totally thrilled. Alan Fortescue's work, it's super detailed, it's lush. It kind of expresses our kind of the technology, the idea of being like that we are connected, but in a way we are kind of more isolated, and kind of looking at the American dream and kind of the illusion of that and the truth to it. So they're like detailed, very dramatic paintings of scenes of everyday life. And well, I'm going on, but
No.
Yeah.
I know that obviously the outdoor stuff is free. Anybody can go anytime. But what about the galleries? Can the general public go, or are the
Yes.
hours restricted these days?
Everyone can go. You need to be vaccinated. And we actually have a reception February 6th. So we have people, at the door that will be just checking to make sure people are vaccinated and wearing a mask. So everyone has to wear, we urge people to wear the N95 or something like that. So,
Yeah.
or double mask.
And Michael,
So we do have hours. We're going to be posting our hours shortly. We're getting the student schedule together. Students help run the gallery. And so during gallery hours, the public is invited.
and where can people find out? Is it also at fineartscenter.com, or is there a separate website?
It's fineartscenter.com and then /Hamden, HAMPDEN.
Okay. And Michael, when you were on the program this fall talking about the upcoming season, and I got really ramped up because the season ends with the Ailey American Dance Theater, which has been profiled on major television this year. And I'm not sure whether it's an anniversary year for the company or an anniversary year for Alvin Ailey, but there's been a lot of attention being paid to it, and in particular to the Dance Revelations, which is kind of the signature work that Alvin Ailey does. I know it closes the season, so what are some of the things that lead up to Alvin Ailey?
Oh my God, we have so much this year. So we have national and international artists all semesters. So we start off in February with two amazing shows from Zimbabwe in Africa and also from Canada with the choral group Nubuntu from Zimbabwe, which is a wonderful five-woman ensemble which sings everything from folk to gospel to their traditional tribal music to soul, even including some pop idioms. They do it all, and it's gorgeous. And also to steal one of Sally's words, very lush in its aesthetic, and just a wonderful, full, all ages family experience. And then similarly for all ages, Cirque Flip Fabrique from Canada, bringing their brand new touring show, which they created in the midst of the pandemic, called 6 Degrees. Nubuntu is on February 8th, and then Cirque Flip Fabrique is February 16th. And they're a physical theater and kind of contemporary circus ensemble. So it's not like, our parents and grandparents circus. It's like taking all of those amazing physical skills and applying them to really kind of magical contemporary theatrical scenes and characters. In March, we have our annual collaboration with the Eric Carle Museum, the classical guitar series. We have the world-class guitarist Berta Rojas, who's actually based here in Massachusetts, but originally from Uruguay. And that's on Saturday the 5th at the Eric Carle Museum. And then we have the international production from 8 different countries across the Pacific and Indian Oceans called Small Island Big Song. And that's our annual partnership with the School of Earth and Sustainability and the MFA Poets and Writers program, both internationally renowned programs here at UMass. And this is our annual way to bring more attention to climate change and the climate crisis. Small Island Big Song features artists from 8 island nations, most of them featuring indigenous artists doing their traditional music and some dance as well, with the message, hey, our entire existence, our entire way of life is endangered in the next decades, like years away, by rising seas and climate change. Like, we need to do something about this. So it's really a multidisciplinary, tiered approach to how to bring more consciousness to the public.
I would think that with the recent events with the volcano in Tonga,
Yep.
and just people in general learning what's going on in the Pacific, that
Yep.
to see some of the culture from the Pacific and how climate change is impacting people's lives, it should be kind of, it's more meaningful after you see those video shots of that explosion and islands being wiped out.
Yeah, it's beyond belief. Those satellite shots of the volcano was just, I couldn't even comprehend. But yeah, this is Fine Arts Center's commitment that we've had for decades to not just Asian and Asian American, but also Pacific Islander artists. So this is really a way for us to lean into our commitment, and for the campus to lean into its commitment to not only raising consciousness but to I think we're talking 2032, hopefully, to be carbon neutral at the UMass campus. So this is Fine Arts Center's way of, being a part of the very fabric of the civic mission of UMass as a government institution. So this is our calling. And then April's just going to be a great celebration of music and dance. We have the world's, the person who's considered the world's leading jazz clarinetist, Anat Cohen, bringing her quartet on April 9th. We have America's leading taiko drumming master, Kenny Endo, who in his 50th anniversary celebration on April 7th. We have the new experimental jazz and new music master, Adam Rudolph, with his Go Organic Orchestra in collaboration with Brooklyn Raga Massive. So it's this big 26-piece intercultural spectacular on stage on April 21st. We have the great singer-songwriter Amos Lee on our main stage on April 16th. Is in a new partnership, curatorial partnership with one of the wonderful promoters in the area, DSP, and also Jensen McCraig, another great singer-songwriter, opening for Amos Lee. And then finishing, like you said, with Elvin Ailey on our main stage on Tuesday, April 26th. Don't need to say too much about them other than to answer your question. Yeah, they're still on the tail end of a couple years of celebrating their 60th anniversary. So yeah, PBS just aired last week that amazing new documentary, which was running at our very own beautiful Amherst Cinema a few months ago. And you know, this is Ailey is a long time presenting partner of ours, and yeah, we will be presenting Revelations, their legendary masterwork, as well as newer work on that program. And let me just also add really quickly that we're also offering, like Sally sort of started to mention, free outdoor programs. Sally and I and all other programmers are received this wonderful infusion of money from the Provost's office at UMass. Thank you again to the Provost. And we're doing exhibits, we're doing free concerts, we're doing installation work, we're doing a dance party. So if you go to fineartscenter.com, you can start to see the schedule as those events start to roll out. And that's from actually starting last semester, we had some things, and into this semester and into the fall. So
I know that the community that surrounds the campus in Amherst attends performances at the Fine Arts. So people that live in Amherst, Northampton, Hadley, and all that. Does the student community on campus get involved in Fine Arts Center programs? Are they as enthusiastic about what's going on as the neighbors?
Sally, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, we just did the Autumn Art Walk, which was part of this program, and that was wonderful. We had a walk between the different exhibiting venues, so Hampden Gallery, Augusta Savage Gallery, and the University Museum of Contemporary Art. So, and we had outdoor different involvement. I had artist Christopher Jenke doing his work, doing like tracing shadows of the trees outside in the sculpture garden. And students would come, and it was kind of like this wheat paste, very natural kind of thing that would just, you know, wouldn't harm the trees at all. And the students would come and just trace the shadows, and then the sun would shift, and you'd see this beautiful shift in how fast, you know, that goes. And we'd, you know, cider and donuts and things like that. And yeah, so there were just like events at different places. So the students were like, oh, this is so exciting. And they would get a stamp. They had a passport. So they would get a stamp. And then if you went to all venues, then there were different prizes. So, and we're going to do that again next fall.
That's terrific. And nothing much happens in the summer other than you guys get vacations, right?
No, we have our annual Jazz in July program, legendary, seminal, nationally respected jazz education program, which serves students of all ages, actually, from teenagers all the way up into the adult years. And we're going back to in-person after having to be virtual because of the pandemic the last 2 years. But it's 2 weeks every mid-July, and now starting last year and into the future, including this year, we have a brand new partnership for a free outdoor concert on the Green in downtown Amherst, partnering with the Amherst Business Improvement District. So that's we're definitely amping up our traditional summer programming as well. And just really quickly to also answer your last question, the students, we try and get students and student organizations and the campus organizations that support students involved in everything we do. Sometimes they co-sponsor, sometimes they host events. In the case of this spring, on April 13th and 14th, there will be a brand new, totally new, invented, devised performance by wonderful theater artists, Jessica and James Gelter from Vermont, who are going to be creating in collaboration with students from our UMass theater department along themes that are of concern to, like, to the point of your question, the campus community. It's really about them. And this is, again, a way that Fine Arts Center feels, we are obligated to serve the students, the campus community, and thereby the greater, community and family of Western Massachusetts. So.
Yeah, I don't know where you all went to school or to college, but the college that my undergraduate college was in a big city, so there wasn't a lot of arts activity. There's a theater program and there was a music program, but you could walk out the front door and you'd be at the Kennedy Center or the National Theater Arena stage. And of course, geographically in Amherst, you walk out the front door, and the Fine Arts Center is sort of it. And I know that the people that have been on this program in the past said that it's very difficult to program to all the various facets of the community, because if you don't program it, whether it's visual arts or performing arts, it doesn't happen. So that you have a lot of different audiences to please. How far out, Michael, are you programming? Are you starting to work on 2022, 23, and 23, 24, considering that the pandemic changed the paradigm of whatever we all do for work?
Yeah, it's made it hard. It's made it much harder. Everything, because of safety protocols, everything costs more on both sides, for the artists, for the agents, for the presenters like us, for audience members, just to be able to come to the shows. And so we're, again, because we're a civic organization, because we're government supported, we are a government agency, we really feel that it's our duty to create programming, especially in this historical moment, that really supports people in that way. So we have more free stuff, but we also, for the paid stuff on stage, we are trying to provide more things that, not just make people feel good, which they also need more of right now, but which really kind of, create these conversations around, like, well, why is this all happening? So the Small Island Big Song show I mentioned before is one example of that. But also to, program ahead of, like, to your question, like, yeah, what are people going to be feeling? What might they be feeling? Are we going to have to deal with another, like, crazy variant? And are we going to have to do more hybrid programming? So this is a conversation, a year to a year and a half, or sometimes on a little bit shorter timeline, but as much as, a year ahead, where we talk, our offices talk to artists and agent representatives and community representatives, and even some audiences, locally and nationally. What do we need to do? What can we do? What can we make available? How can we work together in ways that in the before times, in the before pre-pandemic times, we probably just, didn't think, we knew we should have, we just didn't make the time because we were too busy with our, quote, business, as usual. But there is no more business as usual.
No, business as usual is a thing of the past. Sally, what about you in terms of programming exhibitions? How far out do you plan what you're going to bring in?
Well, we have scheduling. We have our program pretty much set up for next year, so next fall and next spring, the following year. And being interim, it's a different situation because a new director will come in. But we look to kind of support artists. So we're a launching pad for new artists, and we also show established artists too. But we've had Moray Hillary, a Scottish artist who wanted to show, I don't know, I guess last year. It's been a while. It keeps getting pushed because of COVID. And he's in Scotland, so we're going to be shipping his work, and he's going to be coming over. So spring 2023, we have him on the schedule finally. But we are a very supportive gallery, and we like to show people kind of different points in their careers and give them the support. So we have Laura Talbot, who has shown at the gallery before, and now she's kind of showing new work, or developed work from her previous work. So that's exciting. And Eileen Clavaclu is also going to be showing work, and she's shown before. So it's this kind of, we develop these really nice relationships with people, and And let's see, who else do we have? We have Luke Kavanagh, who will be in the incubator space. So we'll be back in our regular space in the fall. And he is known in the area, but hasn't really shown a lot, like in different galleries. So we're going to give him that platform, which is exciting. And then Jillian Jones, she's a photographer in North Adams, and she's going to have an online show. So we're kind of continuing the online aspect and the in-gallery because of COVID. And now we've, just in the whole COVID climate, it's become like a whole new venue too. It's like, I want to keep that going.
Yeah. Mike,
So,
I was going to say, Michael, I was talking with one of your colleagues who said that not only have performing series had to pivot, but issues with visas, canceled flights, and all of these things that you never would have thought were a part of getting a show to your theater have cropped up. And this colleague I was talking to a couple of weeks ago said the flights that this dance company they were bringing in were canceled. Because the pilot shortages, and they, had to move things around, and it introduced an entirely new element of planning that they had never dreamed of. Is that happening to you as you're booking things?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And, it's just one of these things that, again, drives us all to realize how interdependent all our lives and our ways of doing work and business are. So going back to the examples of the artists in February. So, I mean, I don't think it's obvious. I don't think I'm saying anything new or I shouldn't say. Omicron is what it is, right? And it's just rearing its pretty intense head worldwide. And that's affected all performing arts presenting in, December, January, and into February. A lot of things got canceled in December and January. Luckily for us, we didn't have anything programmed, but one of the two shows for Nubuntu in early February did have to cancel. We are shifting instead to the point I made earlier to do free educational outreach for students instead on campus and in the community. So at least we're able to do that. And the artists, to their credit, have been very, amenable to that. But they barely got their visas as well. We were holding our breaths, but both artists on both tours were granted their visas. It's just it's a thing where our field as a whole has to now be in much closer dialogue with like the State Department, with the presidential administration, with other ministries of culture and immigration in other countries. This is the whole world is waking up, to this, and it's just I don't want to say the silver lining because it's horrible it's happening, but making lemonade out of lemons kind of silver lining is at least now there's no pretending that our lives are completely interdependent and we have to work together in ways that we never dreamed of before.
Yeah. Well, Sally, for you in the visual arts world, is it the same challenges, or is it a little bit different? Because once an exhibit is put up, you don't have to worry about moving 50 people from one place to another.
right. It's very different in that way. Right. I mean, we have artist talks with all our events. So, I mean, it's just a smaller scale, like bringing people into the space, thinking about day-to-day stuff, like what's the situation going to be? I mean, capacity, there's all these things we've gone through to think about how we can just continue with our programming. Yeah, I mean, I guess Moray Hillary, that's a whole other thing. We work with some international artists, but not like, not dealing with Michael's situation. Yeah. Thinking about capacity, access to campus, who can be on campus. These are all questions that have come up. And, but right now it looks like we're kind of in a good space where, even though there are variants, like we've kind of figured out how we can make it work, that people can do this, can come. So.
And school is open in terms of it's in person. It's not virtual.
Yep.
at this
Correct.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
about out of time, but before we run off, one of you tell us where all this information about the Fine Arts Center programs and services can be found. Michael, you
On
can
our
you
website.
Yeah,
you
so
can
Yeah.
you can do the
yeah, it's Fine
websites.
Arts.
Yeah.
Sure, it's fineartscenter.com. You can find out information about all our performance series, about Sally's, Gallery Hamden Gallery, about Universal Museum of Contemporary Art, and also the Augustus Savage Gallery. And a quick mention, I forgot to mention Friday, March 11th, Danu, the premier Irish Celtic band, is also going to be with us. So talking about international artists. And just to say for the audiences out there, our patrons, if you come to a gallery, if you come to a stage, if you come to the museum, if you come to even a free event on campus outdoors, these artists right now they have to put in so much work, so much effort by the skin of their teeth to bring their beauty and ideas and everything to you. So I just want to put that out there as like a last message that the artists really want to connect with you as artists. I mean, sorry, as audience members. So, let's create community together.
And if you see Sally or Michael at a performance or an exhibition, go up and say hi. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that work at the Fine Arts Center are so dedicated to what they do, and they're a lot of fun. So, make sure you say hi. We've been talking with Sally Curcio and Michael Sakamoto from the University of Massachusetts Fine Arts Center in Amherst. Find out more about what they're doing at fineartscenter.com. Thanks to both of you for being here this morning. We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more Artsbeat, so don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach, and Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. I have this treat. I get a chance to talk with my colleague from WFCR from many years ago, who was the former music director there and the classical music host John Montanari, who has become the artistic director of the Valley Classical Concert Series, which was formerly known as Music in Deerfield and brings a variety of classical music and chamber music programming to the upper part of the Pioneer Valley. So, John, it's very good to see you.
Marco, it's been much too long between schmoozes.
It certainly has. Well, here we are on one of the coldest days of the winter, and you're looking well, sir.
Thank you. We haven't had a chance to mourn together the passing of our beloved Stephen Sondheim.
We have not, John, but I am planning to do a special program around the time of his birthday. I did one when he turned 90. I had a Sondheim special, and then last year I did an hour salute to Follies on its 50th anniversary, and I'm going to do some kind of a Sondheim special in March when he would have been 92.
Terrific.
But, I immediately, when I see programming like at Tanglewood, the Boston Pops is doing a Sondheim thing on their summer season and stuff, I bet John Montanari will be there.
We'll see. Maybe.
Maybe. So, Valley Classical Concerts is really doing a lot of programming these days in chamber music, and you've got quite the season.
Well, we've been doing a lot of programming, but we haven't been doing a lot of concerts. We actually had been dark, like so much of the performing arts world, since the late winter of 2020, when we had to cancel the last three events of that season. And then the entirety of the following season. We had planned for a regular roster of 6 concerts, and they all went by the wayside, meaning that not only did our audiences not have a chance to hear great music, but the artists also lost one more opportunity for, well, what they do and what their livelihood is, and that is to play concerts. So, I mean, we're just so relieved that one way or t'other, we're finally back in business.
And you're also performing in a new home for some of your concerts.
For this season, yes, because of the rules of at Smith College about outside events taking place on their campus, and we look very much forward to resuming our relationship with them again come a 2022-2023 season. I hardly dare even to envision such a thing, but we will forge ahead. But yes, we managed to find a superb partner in the Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity, which is located at the Florence Congregational Church, a wonderful historic building that they've also turned into a very nice, smallish, maybe 300 seat or so art center, and we'll be presenting 3 of our concerts there, starting with the next one, which will be taking place on the 20th of February.
And Kyle Homestead and Cassandra Holden from Bombyx were on this program, and they really launched with some ambitious programming in jazz and world music. They had Dee Dee Bridgewater, and
Yes.
Terrence Blanchard was booked before his opera premiered at the Met. He was there. So, I mean, they're trying to do some really good things at that center.
More power to them. It's great.
And so, give me a quick rundown of the groups that are performing on your roster and how people can get information.
Well, first of all, for your second question, the easiest thing is to go to valleyclassicalconcerts.org. And our ticketing is a little different than the past. Usually we have the normal subscription plan as well as individual tickets. We're actually kind of mixed up this year. The Bombyx Center will actually be handling the ticketing for the 3 events we have there, and we will be for the concert coming up with Richard Good in April. But all the details will be on that one-stop shopping website, valleyclassicalconcerts.org, and we'll direct you where you need to go to get your individual tickets. The concert coming up on the 20th, well, one thing we like to do once, maybe even twice a season, is to premiere a group for our series, not just to rely on old friends, but in the world of chamber music, there are so darned many great groups around, and they play better and better all the time, not just technically, but their range of musical abilities and their understanding of the music is just getting greater and greater all the time. So we're very pleased to present the Verona String Quartet, a youngish group that has a residency at the Oberlin College Conservatory. They just play the spots off the music that's in front of them. And that will be on the 20th at 3 p.m. And they're playing a brief work by Schubert, kind of an overture, a one-movement work by Schubert. And then they're playing the first of the 6 string quartets by the Hungarian master Béla Bartók, works that are regarded as probably the finest 20th century group of string quartets, and works that also mark very important milestones stylistically and in terms of artistic growth of this really fascinating composer. Well, they're playing the first of them, and it's a wonderfully warm and romantic work, but with still that spice of Hungarian folk music that was a characteristic of Bartók's style. And then Deep Breath, everybody, for the second half, contains one of the signature masterworks of the quartet literature, Beethoven's Quartet Opus 131, a organic 7-movement, uninterrupted exploration of just about every musical idea, as well as emotional state that a composer is able to put down on paper with lines and dots and squiggles and the like. And how Beethoven was able to do this when he was, of course, totally deaf in his last years remains a mystery, one that will probably never be solved. But it's also one of those groups that, it's a Mount Everest. And why do you climb it? Because it's there. It's one of the group works that any kind of young group will have to, master in its repertoire and probably return to frequently for the entirety of their time together. So it's going to be a real belly full of music, which is the way I like to think of a concert. And it just leaves you absolutely, like a good meal or a great conversation or whatever. It just leaves you with an immense satisfaction after you depart. You have been somewhere musically over the preceding 2 hours, and that's what we've got on the 20th.
Sounds terrific. And then you move on in the month of March.
Mm-hmm.
When the weather warms up.
Your Lips to God's Ear, yes. We move from the world of the string quartet, which is sort of the highest form of chamber music, 2 violins, a viola, and a cello, and the medium that the greatest composers have written some of their greatest works in for now hundreds of years. We move to the piano trio, which is an ensemble of piano, violin, and cello. And again, it's a medium that has inspired many of the greatest composers. And we again have a group that we're presenting for the first time, although they were a group scheduled to be with us on a previous occasion, but alas, we had to postpone. They're called the Lysander Piano Trio, the name for a Shakespeare character. And they also have a program that mixes different centuries and styles in their program, which will be coming up on the 20th of March. They begin with the young Sergei Rachmaninoff, the dark, brooding, melodic Russian composer of those famous piano concertos and the symphonies and all the other great works. It's called the Elegic Trio, or Trio Elegiac, number 1. And it's, again, one sweeping movement, not too long, but with that brooding Russian character that has fascinated listeners for quite some time. Then something brand new, a composer, about a 50-ish composer named James Lee III. He's a professor of music at Morgan State University and a very good composer in, I would say, a mainstream 20th century style, but with his own spin on it. And it's a trio that's of recent vintage called Temple Visions. And it's a 4-movement piece that he said is inspired by the apocryphal Acts of St. John. So it's of sort of quasi-biblical nature, but again, in a very exciting and eclectic contemporary medium. And then back to Beethoven for the second half. And one of those pieces that a friend of mine calls an armchair piece. In other words, ones you can just settle into and close your eyes and just let wash over you for more than a half hour. And that is the so-called Archduke Trio by Beethoven. It's just one of his most warm and giving and expansive, and I guess the word in German is gemütlich, kind of homey and cozy works. And again, a work that every performing piano trio has to contend with and has to include in its repertoire and has to revisit probably every couple of years, no matter how long they get together. So again, there we go again, another belly full of music on the 20th of March. That's going to be great. Also at the 19th. What's the correct date? We'll have to. We'll work on that. It's going to be just another warm and
wonderful event. Then you have Richard Good.
It is the 20th. Let me correct myself
Yeah.
just to tell any. Richard Good, we've presented maybe 4 or 5 occasions going back to the Music in Deerfield days. And he's just one of America's great pianists, especially when it comes to that serious repertoire. I keep saying Beethoven. He's not playing any Beethoven on this occasion. But if you, for instance, want to know Beethoven's 32 piano sonatas and want a good recording to grow with and to have as a cornerstone of your record library and to get the notes of these works, I strongly recommend Richard Good's recorded cycle, which is one of the greats. And again, it brings you really close to the spirit of the composer. But he is playing more Schubert on this concert, a series of pieces called the musical moments, Moments musicaux, which are somewhat light, but in that Schubertian way, just gloriously melodic and with surprising depths of feeling too, for music that is not necessarily the most complicated or demanding. But then he is playing a more complex and demanding work by Schubert, a sonata, a full 4-movement sonata in A minor that is sort of picks up with the piano sonata genre where Beethoven left off, again with Schubert's wonderful melody and color and depth of feeling. And then an early work by Robert Schumann called Butterflies or Papillons. It's a charming series of waltz-like music. And then finally some Hungarian peasant songs by Béla Bartók, in which he really digs into the inherent excitement, but also even the dissonance that you find in the folk music of that region of Europe. It's folk music, but it's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's gritty and it's exciting, and it's really carved out of a tree or dug from the earth, from which it comes.
John, we're going to take a quick break here to acknowledge the underwriters that make Artsbeat possible. We're talking with John Montanari. We will be back more after these announcements. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com. Support for Community Radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. You're either watching us on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, listening to us on 89.5 FM WSKB, and we welcome our new audiences on Southwick Community Programming and Agawa Media. My guest this half hour is John Montanari from Valley Classical Concerts. And John, I know there's one more event on the season that we haven't talked about, but before we do you pick the ensemble to come perform and they tell you what they're performing, or do you ask for an ensemble that performs, let's say, Beethoven's Ninth or whatever the piece of music that you're interested in? How does it work?
It usually works the first way you mentioned. First of all, yes, I do select the ensembles that we invite to our series. My formal term is artistic director. I greatly prefer the term music picker-outerer as my thing. So it's a combination of me becoming aware of of somebody of an ensemble through a recording or maybe a recommendation from a friend or another member of our board or somebody who heard a group and thought that I should maybe check them out. Or sometimes they're brought to my attention from some of the artists' management companies that work with the groups and have worked with us in a wonderful partnership over the years, and people that we can rely on and they can rely on us, and we partner in all of our different ways to make music happen. So and then some groups will be return visitors to our series, and some will be with us for the first time. And sometimes as soon as I've heard the concert, I immediately start to plan for their next appearance with us if they absolutely knock me out, which most of our groups do, frankly. So it works any number of ways. And then once we have investigated the group, they often present us with either a small menu of program choices, or they say, here's what we're touring with. And I wouldn't say it's exactly take it or leave it, but it's what they have been working on and what's in the best performing shape for the group. And as long as there's not too much serious duplication of repertoire with what we have recently presented or will be presenting, in the near future, then we're certainly willing to give the ensembles the greatest latitude within some boundaries of what they want to bring to our audience.
Now, with the pandemic and forced to being reshuffle and all kinds of new things, I'm sure you're worrying about not only the musicians, but the COVID requirements, making sure that backstage and the audience, are taking all the necessary precautions. And other people have said that when you're bringing in foreign groups, visas have now become a problem. Flight cancellations have become a problem. So you guys have to be relatively flexible in what you're doing to make sure that if somebody throws you a curveball, you can deal with it.
We have had to be. There was a situation with one of the groups we were to have presented last season, even before COVID knocked our concert series out. But exactly what you said was about to be true, that the artists who were based in Europe would not be able to come to the U.S. That is not an issue with our concerts coming up, since they're all U.S. based. But you're right. I mean, we have to be more flexible than ever, up to and including looking for different venues when the places that we normally present concerts are, for whatever reason, not available to us. And yes, it's requiring that an organization that you would normally think as being very plan oriented, we have to be very nimble on our feet.
So are you already starting to plan next year, 2022-23? I mean, you have to work in advance to get the groups that you really want.
We do, and I have a couple of ideas. This is about the time of year when I normally would give serious thought to starting to put together a season for the next program, and that's going to happen over the next 4 months roughly. So so we'll start to but again, we'll have to be extremely flexible about exactly where and what we can present, because as you well know, that the situation for COVID is not just what it is today. It's trying to look into the crystal ball to see what will be happening in the future, and things are moving very quickly.
Yeah, they move much faster than we'd ever imagine. You have one other show that we haven't talked about.
We do.
So,
first of all, just to go back to the Richard Good concert, that will be presented at Sweeney Concert Hall, our normal venue at Smith, through the good graces of Smith, who are essentially taking on this concert as one of their own sponsorship. So we will, again, musicindeerfield.org to get your tickets for it, all of which will be general admission, by the way, this season, not like we have in the past, but that's where you go. So the Apple Hill String Quartet, our friends who will be back with us again from the Apple Hill Center for Music in New Hampshire, which is a wonderful event where a resident artists get together with chamber music lovers and amateur musicians, and it's kind of do a summer, almost a musical summer camp kind of thing. They're bringing with them a local favorite, pianist Judith Gordon, formerly of Smith College. They'll be bringing a new string quartet by a young Japanese-American composer named Some Sato, who graduated within the last decade from Williams College and is now studying for her doctorate at Juilliard. And her string quartet was written for the Apple Hill. So it'll be a discovery for all of us. Normally, I've heard all the pieces on the programs previously, but this is an exception. It's going to be as new to me and all of our other patrons as anybody else. And then they're going to indulge in some more Schubert for us, a beautifully melodic string quartet known as the Rosamunda, because it borrows a melody or reuses a melody that he used for a play of that name, the music he wrote to accompany it. And it's just, again, Schubert at his most luxurious and melodic. And then an American classic from about 115 years ago by a New England, in fact, New Hampshire native composer named Amy Marcy Cheney Beach, known as Amy Beach for short, a composer who achieved a number of firsts for American women in terms of composition, but she's also one of the top composers of that so-called New England school of American music from the late 19th through the early 20th century. Music that certainly is European in orientation, but she also brings to it her own melodic stamp, some of which you might sound a little Celtic, or might be more folk song based, or might remind you of romantic poetry from America at the time. They're performing a piano quintet. This is a quintet for piano and string quartet. So it's a work that brings together the full romantic grand piano with the string quartet as equal collaborators in a great piece of a little more than a half-hour duration, and a real American classic, and a great way to cap off our season in what will by then be, of course, a beautiful spring. We hope and pray.
We are certainly hoping for that. How many people does it take to put on a concert? I mean, you're not the one setting up the chairs, doing the PR and everything. You've got a small staff, right?
Is that a setup for a joke? How many people does it take?
No. If you want to tell it as a joke, you certainly can.
No, that's okay. Well, we have an active board of volunteers who basically handle pretty much everything from selecting the artists to contracting with them to fundraising to arranging for the tickets. We do have one administrator who is an invaluable asset to our group. And then when it comes to, it depends on what the venue requires. When we're presenting at the Bombyx, now they have their own volunteers and their own structure. So essentially we're sort of, layering on what they already do. And at Smith, they have their own staff for the custodial and the like. But we do have, my wife, for instance, does the production of the concerts, make sure that the groups are set up and have all their needs taken care of, and the chairs are set out and the music stands, and they have their right snacks and their right accommodations and all the things you have to do. Yeah, and there's more than meets the eye and the ear behind presenting even, a group coming in and sitting down and playing Beethoven. There's a lot of planning that has to go on. A lot of hands have to be involved.
And how long have you been working with this organization? When I first became aware of it, it was called Music in Deerfield, and it was pretty small. It was up in Deerfield mostly. A wonderful lady named Joan Vandervliet seemed to be administering it and came to talk to me at WFCR about sponsoring some of the shows. But when did you get involved?
Well, I don't remember exact dates. I joined the board of directors in the 1980s, and certainly by 1990, I was taking charge of selecting the ensembles that we would bring up to the beautiful First Church of Deerfield. So I've been doing it for over 30 years. My goodness.
Yeah.
It's a long haul. And we've been at Smith College now for quite a few years. It's been just a great partnership, without which we really would not have been able to continue through all this time. And so, yep, I've heard them come and go over the years, and it still does my heart good to hear these young kids today. You know, the artists get younger all the time as we get older, as you well know, and they just the fact that they can still come and do us our Schubert and our Beethoven and our Bartok, and their peers, their contemporaries, their friends, you know, their younger composers, their generation, with totally new spins on music. That's absolutely crucial, and again, very, very heartwarming. No matter how old you get, that the tradition is living on with very eloquent spokespeople for it.
Well, John Montanari, thanks for being here this morning and talking about Valley Classical Concerts. I hope those of you in our listening area and viewing area will take a spin up to either Bombyx or Smith College to catch one of the performances, valleyclassicalconcerts.org for further information. We're ending today's program with a little song from Stephen Sondheim from his Broadway musical, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which not only established him as a really fabulous composer, but listen to the lyrics, because he was one of the best lyrics in the American musical theater. That wraps up this edition of Artsbeat. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll see you next week.
In the Tiber there sits a boat, gently dipping its bow, trim and tidy and built to float. Pretty little picture. Now put a boy on the starboard side, leaning out at the rail. Next to him put a blushing bride, slim and slender and starry-eyed. Down below put a tiny bed. The sun gets pale, the sea gets red, and off they sail on the first high tide. The bed and the boat and the boy and the bride. It's a pretty little picture. Hey, what pretty little picture? Oh my, pretty little picture. Which but 20 little men I will buy. Feel the roll of the playful waves, see the sails as they swell, hear the whips on the galley slaves. Pretty little picture. Well, let it carry your cares away, out of sight, out of mind, past the buoy and through the bay. Soon there's nothing but sea and spray. Night descends and the moon's aglow. Your arms entwined, you steal below, and far behind at the edge of day, the bong of the bell of the buoy and the bay and the boat and the boy and the bride are away. It's a pretty little picture to view as a little boat sails to sea. 20 little men I will do, leave the little details to me. No worries, no bothers, no captains, no fathers. In the sea sits a virgin isle, smooth and sandy and pink, uninhabited tropic style. Pretty little picture. Think, in a house made of mango trees, seashells dotting the door, boy and bride live a life of ease, doing nothing but what they please. Then at night when the stars appear, there's nothing more to see or hear. There's just the shore where the lovers lie, the sand and the sea and the stars in the sky, and the sound of a soft little satisfied sigh. Oh. With your petty little cares at an end, on the little isle far away, give a little thought to your friend, soon a little to save the day.